is Samson Mugiani on another episode of Ancient Megalithographics, where we look forward to understand ancient works and ancient writings, in which we have the interest and the desire to understand the mysteries that surround our global works, ancient global works, and the mysteries that surround ancient biblical writings. In today's episode, I will still embark on the newly introduced Kenyan megalithic structures. I do believe that many would want to visit our Kenyan megaliths because of two reasons. One, to see the magnificent size of these huge monumental structures, and secondly, to understand the secrets that are hidden in our Kenyan megaliths. But before then, I would like to introduce a few things to you before you decide to start having a journey to visit our megalithic sites. It is important for us to understand that the scientific and historical and biblical attestations are things that many would really desire to see. And that is the main point, that us as Asian megalithographics come before you to introduce our Kenyan megaliths based on science, which stands on geographical understanding, because the megalithic structures have a geographical relationship, for they are aligned according to the geographical positions of the planet. Geological understanding, because these Kenyan megaliths and other megaliths have unique manner in which the stones that made them are showing the advanced technologies of the ancient people. And the stones are varying from granite to limestone to sandstone and to many. And that is the part of the geology that we do say it is important for people, tourists, to be in a position to understand the geological secrets that are found in megalithic structures. We also promote these sites under the manner in which these megalithic structures were aligned towards the sun risings and towards the sun settings. And this is what we call now the cosmic geometry. We also promote this in terms of science that comes with the complex architecture, the science that comes with complex astronomy, and the science that comes with the archaeological findings that has been found by other varying researchers globally concerning the discoveries of giant bone skeletons. And this is the part of science that is intriguing in these monumental structures. We promote our Kenyan megaliths concerning the historical accounts of the ancient people, where we try to understand how they did their things and why they did them, and how significant is it unto us and for them, and getting the historical accounts of the lost civilizations, which is related directly to us, to whose attestations are found in the biblical history. One thing is, us as ancient megalithographics do not promote these sites or tell people to go to these sites for any other thing other than the scientific, historical, and biblical attestations. One would ask, why then should we not involve ourselves in some of the religious practices that take place in some of these megalithic sites? One of the greatest things that you're going to find at Kitimikai would be the place is visited by quite a number of people. It is open to the public, and the custodian has given that leeway. The place is open to students of varying ages, students from primary schools, secondary schools, colleges, universities. The place is open to students of history, students of culture. The place is open to students of geology and so on. But then there are other people who usually visit Kitimikai for other purposes of religious activities. You can go there and find people praying, you're going to find people fasting, you're going to find people burning incense. And this is one of the things that we say you need to know what you're going to find at that place. We have a challenge with the burning of the incense and the burning of candles. So when you're going to Kitimikai, be ready to have very good shoes and be watchful with the slippery stones. The other thing would be us as Asian megalithographics do not promote that religious practice. It is unto us specifically for scientific, historical, and biblical attestations. Why? We have come to understand that Asian megalithic structures, particularly even this Ketmikai in the western region of Kenya, is aligned to east, northeast, east, and east-southeast. These are the sites of the summer solstices and equinoxes. And we have understood that the builders were interested in following the sun and understanding how the sun rotates the planet all the year to give unto us the seasons. Yes, the sun rotates. When you go to the book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse 6, it tells you the sun has got its circuit. So the sun rotates around the planet. So by doing so, they saw the sun as a source of providence, and they started sacrificing to it as a god. So they sacrificed to the sun god, S-U-N, small G-O-D, instead of sacrificing to the S-O-N, Son of God. So this is a thing that relates to the worship of the luminary star. And now they converted that structure to be a site for worship, that is now worship, sacrifice offering, and burnt offering. And these are the things that have been followed over the decades. So when you look at what is happening at Ketmikai concerning the worship practice down there, we find ourselves being restricted not to go that line, because the book of Enoch contains the workmanship and the teachings of the giants, and the watchers, in which they were taught how the sun moves, how the stars move, and so on. And so part of this becomes the main reason why God described their deeds as all sin. The book of Enoch chapter 10 also stipulates that those who follow the deeds of these ones, they shall also be punished together with them in the great judgment. That is also the same thing which has been written by Enoch in the book of Enoch chapter 65 verse 5. That all those who follow the works of the watchers shall find themselves in a precarious condition. For this, we find also ourselves restricted by following the sun god, S-U-N, because the commandments in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, states that we are not supposed to worship idols. On the other end, we also find ourselves restricted to have that place as a worship site, because the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 19, we are warned, that is the book of law, it warns us against worship of the heavenly hosts. We are not supposed to be tempted to worship the heavenly hosts. So all this, we find it being contrary to the normal practice of worship that the Lord himself gave unto us. We do understand the alignment of the Lord's temple is given unto us in the book of Exodus chapter 20, 5, 26, and 27. Moses was given the law on how to construct the temple, the tabernacle. It is aligned at north, east, south, and west. Again, it is aligned to the north because the thrones are on the north. The east are the origins of all the stars, and the west are the endings. That is why you see the sun setting at west. Sunset, the sun looks like a burning oven. South is the place of the earth. So Solomon also followed the same pattern with north, east, south, and west. And remember, the book of Leviticus chapter 1, verse 11, tells us the priests used to sacrifice the animals, targeting true north of the planet. So these are the things that we need to understand. We also understand that the temple that was built by the Zerubbabel was aligned at north, east, and southwest. And that is the Herald's temple. And when you look the book of Ezekiel chapter 40 to chapter 48, we find a very unique temple there being built, in which Enoch, in which Ezekiel chapter 43, verse 10 to 12, it tells us that we shall follow the commandment and the law to build our places of worship, the temple. The striking thing is that in the book of Revelation chapter 22, we also see that the heavenly temple is aligned on north, east, south, and west. So this is the main reason that we keep away from this. Issues related to worship of places, particularly shrines, we are categorically warned. And that is why we can also be able to reference the book of Judges concerning the makers' idolatry. We also see Israel being involved in shrines, that is in the book of Second Kings. And you see Josiah coming in to stop all these issues about in the shrines in the book of Second Kings. Even Jesus Christ himself. Look, whatever altar you stand and swear, you swear by all and what stands in that place. So we as Asian megalithographics keep away from the worship practice of the watchers. And so for anyone who is going to be with us, be assured we are not going to involve ourselves in the worship practice of that place. So if you want to go to Gitmekai, Bindu and Ilesi, you need to have a knowledge of the ancient civilizations. You need to understand a little bit of Stone Age, such as Oman, Egypt, Lens Kanak, and so on. And you need to understand what megalithic researchers have spoken concerning this. You also need to know quite a number of secrets of the same. When you go to Gitmekai, you also need to have some knowledge in the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch is available. You can download it at Google Play. Go and search the book of Enoch, Richard Elmy Charles translations, 1912 to 1917 edition. Go to chapter 6 and read up to 15. The book of Enoch is wide. There are so many things we shall discuss at a point in time as the seasons go on. And therefore, it is important for us to look forward that we can be able to understand this and know how to go about this. The book of Jubilees is also important. Before you get to Gitmekai, you need to have some knowledge of the book of Jubilees. You need to have understanding the book of Joshua. And these are books that you can be able to obtain them through Google Play. Before you go to Gitmekai, you also need to have a compass. This is to testify the positioning of Gitmekai in various sites. It is important for us to understand the secrets of this. And you can only be able to trust the findings when you go to the site. You must know how to handle a compass, either on watch, or you have a compass in your phone, or you have a handheld compass. The other thing that you need to have is you need to have a very good Android phone. Why should you have a good Android phone? This is basically to assist you while on ground. You can be able to compare Gitmekai and other parts and other megalithic structures in other parts of the world, so that you can be able to see the similarities of these megalithic structures. You also need to look at the researcher findings on the ground. Now, an Android phone is important, and you should have Google Earth because it will assist you look and view other megalithic structures in the world. For those people who are going to see the sun ray penetrations during equinoxes and solstices, it is important for them to be in a position to have a sun calculator installed in their phones. The sun calculator is an application that connects your phone with the satellite. It shows you the sun risings, the altitude, the azimuth, and the sun settings. And this is very key because during that specific time when you are visiting Gitmekai and the Bindu and the Ilesi, particularly Gitmekai and the crying stone of Ilesi, you'll be able to see the sun penetrate exactly at the time of the equinox, aligned to the sun calculator's real time. When you go to Gitmekai, if you have ability, you can also have a drone. Drones are best because they assist you visualize the tall parts and even confirm the heights. It is important, therefore, before you go to Kitimika, you be very well averse to this. And remember, I have told you, the place has slippery stones. Make sure you have good rubber shoes. Avoid the stones when they are wet. Don't climb at the stones when they are wet. You're gonna fall. The other thing is, Kitimika is not a place for people who indulge. There are people who go to excursions, find themselves taking substances, alcohol, and so on. That is not a place for people who are staggering. You're going to find yourself in trouble. So, for all this, I do call upon the Kenya National Museum, that is the government. And I'm also calling upon the tourism, the Ministry of Tourism. They look at which way they can assist us best and assist, you know, Kenyans best, so that we can benefit from these megalithic structures. And this is by making proper order, that we have a good flow of visitors at that place. We need good social amenities, security features. We need ramps. We need good lighting in that place. And we need a very humble space environment whereby we can be able to have people visit that site without a lot of challenges. And this means that we need restoration and upgrade, and we need the place sorted out uh, in terms of infrastructure to resemble the other megalithic structures in the world for local and domestic tourism. And for this, I do feel it is the highest, greatest opportunity for each and everyone to have an opportunity to visit that site, so that you may be able to see the global wonders. See me in the next episode of Asian Megalithographics, hoping that you have questions. You can be able to connect me. You can be able to look at our website. If you want to support this project, you can be able to support us. I'm ready to interact, any questions, whichever, and may God bless you.